Thank you and welcome to the show today. The topic this morning is Selma, Alabama. And so we have with us to talk about this great event that occurred quite recently in the celebration of the Voting Rights Act activity in Selma, Alabama in the 1960s. And of course, Minister Taylor, you've been with us on a number of occasions and you've given us excellent information. And I'm sure that most members of our audience know you by sight. But for those few who might not know you, let's have you, first of all, to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences during this first 6 minutes. And then after that, we'll have a commercial break, and then we'll come back and talk about Selma, because I think that it's personal to you,
Yes.
because you have a personal relationship
Yes.
dealing with Selma. So let's do it from that perspective.
Okay. Dr. Haney, I was born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 1955, and I am an alum of Selma University. Went to school there in Tuscaloosa, high school, elementary school, and also in Selma. When I went to school there, I worked in the Dallas County city and county schools. And we graduated from Selma University in 1980, went there in 1977, and I've learned a lot about Selma, side of Selma that a lot of people don't know. And one of the other things, Dr. Reeves Mitchell, what he has done at Fisk University with the buildings named for the people who attended there, we have done the same thing at Selma University. We are telling the story of Selma through the minds of the educators who went to school at Selma University, because the movie did not tell this side of the story. And it's very important for people to know how Selma has influenced so many areas. President Lyndon B. Johnson said he compared Selma to Appomattox, Concord, and Lexington during the Civil War. And in Alabama today, there are 10 cities that are the most dangerous places to live. And you can trace that back to Selma, because Selma has been the epicenter for a lot of things that are going on in Alabama. And I'm most passionate about having an opportunity to highlight Tony Chestnut's book, Black in Selma. Dr. J. Robert Bradley sang at Selma University in May 31st, 1966. And so the history is rich, and the people need to know, the young people need to know about all aspects of Selma, what gone into making it what it is today.
Okay, well, first let's get into some of the information in reference to the what you believe to be the historical information that you want to bring us in reference to. Start us off at what you consider to be the very, very beginning that would eventually lead 50 years later to a celebration that we had in Selma. Some information in reference to how we got there.
Okay. Well, you know, that in Tony Chestnut's book, I remember the area where they decided to go to Birmingham to seek out Dr. MLK Jr. to talk to him about using Selma as a city to launch the voters' right, you know, in Selma. And so that's what they did, brought him there. And also, Dr. Haney, I have to use this time to share that there were people who were helped by the Selma movement, and there were people who were hurt by it. And so we are highlighting all aspects of it as much as possible. Tony Chestnut's mother, Auntie, said that after the Civil Rights Movement left Selma, that it took a whole year for the kids to learn how to concentrate in the classroom again. And that's very important. And in Selma, that directly, you know, influenced my family in our developmental process of learning, you know, and there are a lot of things that happen in Selma that have influenced people who were in those classrooms that they don't even know how to put into words today. And so historically, I'm speaking from the educational perspective, the Common Core. You know, there is a Common Core that I have in Selma with those who went through various experiences during the time in the classroom in Selma.
So Selma was a difficult time for African Americans, period, which is to say that it was not that much different throughout the southern parts of the United States in a real sense, but it really sort of was a traumatic time to live and be black in Selma. Is that what you're saying?
Most definitely. And in Dr. T.J. Jemisin's book, his life story, it says it compares Selma to apartheid in South Africa back in the 60s and 50s. You know, that's in his book too.
And so when Dr. Martin Luther King and others went there, they had to face a real entrenched kind of bigotry and racism and et cetera. And this is what they had to overcome. And this is the story in a real sense of the ability to overcome that. This is the story of the celebration in a real sense of 50 years later. Is that what we're saying?
Well, I would say it is a celebration, but I won't say that they have
overcome.
Right.
Okay, very good. And so we're going to take this first commercial break.
Okay.
And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of today. We're talking to Minister Gregory Taylor from Selma, Alabama itself. And Mr. Taylor has given us some excellent information in reference to his background, education, and some of his experiences. And now, Mr. Taylor, if you could give us some information in reference to Selma before the beginning of the civil rights movement and bring us up to that period over the next 8 minutes. And then during that final 10 minutes, we'll get into the impact that it had and that brought all of these folks from all over the world to that little city at one time. And let's do it from that perspective.
Okay. And Dr. Haney, I'm telling you Selma exactly the way it was told to me. The late Dr. O.S. Harvey, who was pastor of First Baptist Church in Northport, Alabama, used to always tell us that in Selma, making reference to the school, Selma University, and I told Tony Chestnut when I was reading his book, Black in Selma, that I would always count on him to tell me the story of Selma. And his son, Terry Chestnut, now, and I are keeping that tradition going. But Dr. Harvey used to say the day would come when black people in Alabama would lead that school like never before. And to make reference to the point Dr. D.V. Jemison, who was the father of Dr. T.J. Jemison, was pastor of the Tabernacle Baptist Church at the time that the things were going on there in the 60s. And his son has duplicated his ministry in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But I'm coming to where you are. In Selma, as a student at Selma University, we learned about the first classroom where the civil rights movement left from Dinkins Memorial. That's 4 ministers who led the civil rights